interview. Today we have Charles Sgrillo Sr. As some of you guys know him probably as Charlie. He is the National Director for the USNDP National Development Team. Charles, thanks for hopping on here. We're going to be recapping things that happened in 2025 and then touching on some things that happened in 2026, which is going to be a whole separate interview. So this is going to be kind of part one of a two-part interview. 2026, we're going to release early in January. That's going to touch on all the things to look forward to for that year, but we will kind of touch on a few things at the end of this interview, just what to expect for the future. So first and foremost, welcome to the podcast. We're going to be going over 2025. How's the year been for Team USA thus far?
And thanks. Great to be with you guys. 2025 was a great year. The program has gotten off the ground and we started with the philosophy of crawl, walk, run. And I think right now we're up to a trot. We still got some stuff to do, but we're rebuilding some bridges and relationships and the program had a great year.
So, so I've noticed a huge change in just the releasing of information and just how accessible information is. How important has that been in just letting people know like what this program is and how to get involved?
Well, I think that's a major key, and that really goes to the younger members of our committee, Greg Thompson, Laura Ventura, my son Charlie, who's the director of the NDP. Those guys are the ones that have recreated the website, the social media, and I kind of do what I'm told by them.
Yeah, so hey, listen, it's a young man's game. I'm sure Greg is going to be happy that you called him young, first and foremost. So that's a good start to get in his good graces because he is. I mean, we call him the mayor, right? He's the mayor of State Boards, but Tim's the president. So, all right, so kind of touching on that, and we'll get into some of the things that happened in 2025. So, what is your role then? Are you kind of just overseeing, kind of taking? Are you taking a lot of questions from like people who are interested, or are they kind of being delegated to people like Greg and Charlie?
Well, what we try to do is I kind of try to, being retired, I try to take care of a lot of the stuff to coordinate between USARS, the national governing body through the Olympic Committee, and our committee. And then also we have meetings and delegate different things that we have to do. We have a five-man committee, but we do have three or four support staff personnel that really help us when we're into registrations and all that. So I think I just oversee and just keep it on track and let the young guys and girl um you know promote this for the future because we're me and Dave Marmstein, who's my right hand man for years, are coming down to being a couple years away for being done, and we're trying to get everything done and set up so that the youngins that are going to take over, this is all the hard work's done and it's just rocking and rolling.
So you said it perfect. You said you guys are kind of at a trot level right now. So I look at it from being in construction as a building. So you're building the foundation so that, everybody who's helping in each different region can now start building the walls, start putting the windows in, start building the rest of the house to kind of to keep this thing standing for a long time, right?
Exactly. And it was all about creating that pyramid. And it all starts with the NDP that was created because nobody knew what their path was to Team USA. And that was the whole thing with the NDP that I'll call them Junior started with Greg and Laura. They're the ones running that. And that's how we're getting the information to the younger kids and getting our branding out there so everybody understands the how to get a look for Team USA and how it works.
This is perfectly leading right into kind of our first topic here, which is going to be the National Development Program at State Wars in 2025. So, one of the things we've mentioned a few times now is accessibility and kind of just the relaying of information to people. So, can you just explain what divisions you guys had at State Wars last year, and kind of the role that the NDP played at State Wars?
The NDP last year was the very first year that we added another country. Actually, Canada joined us for it. So it really gave it a little international flair, North American flair. And the goal of the NDP, we had eights, 10s, 12s, 14s, and 16s. And that is so we can evaluate kids through their play at State Wars. And we do go to other tournaments, Narch, and watch players. But State Wars is where the NDP found its home. And what we're doing there is evaluating kids for a longer period of time. So when we get down to that selection process, we're going to know players. It's not going to be somebody we just, you'll find a stud out there that nobody knew about. But if we get to see players at those younger ages, we see how they develop as a person. Because besides picking the best hockey players, we want to pick solid citizens. We
Yeah.
want good kids to represent the country, represent the program in a positive way. So we felt that that was very important to have the NDP be that. And again, that goes back to the phrase, it's your path to Team USA.
So it's funny you say that the good people part because Tim talked about that when we've interviewed him in the past about Team USA for the men's side of things. And this is a good way to do it. And this brings it back to how it kind of used to be with having different kind of territories, I guess you would call them. You have an East, a West, and a Central, right? From the United States. So you're kind of playing within your, I don't want to say region because these are bigger than regions, but playing within your territory, right?
Yes, and the reason we wanted to, I believe Charlie set it up that way is so that I mean, you got to be realistic. There's a ton of roller hockey in California. But this is the United States of America. So we have to give everybody across the country and our players in different parts of the country. So we've created this scouting system where we pick guys that are involved in their areas in programs, maybe own a rink or just, run hockey at the rink. And the more scouts we have, that means more eyeballs and more information we have when we go to that selection process. So we had to break it into regions, and that's how we did. They broke it into three regions.
And those three regions, if you look at roller hockey in general, California kind of covers the West and Arizona too. The
Yep.
Central, you have St. Louis and Detroit, which are both within there. And then in the East Coast, you have New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, pretty big hotbeds, Florida becoming one of them as well.
Exactly. And we have scouts all up and down through them, through all regions, so that when we get down to the selection process, players are now on their applications checking scouts who they know them, so we can get firsthand knowledge of the player, how long they've known that the scout knew them, and we trust the scouts that we're picking to give us honest reviews on players. So as we build a team with the inline hockey committee and the coaching staff that gets selected, we pick the best possible team to represent the country.
So very similar to how ice hockey does it, right? You have scouts in each region. They're doing a little bit of recruiting. I'm not saying they're, going to house league games and things like that. People who are interested, they're at least vetting them out. And then at State Wars, at least you get a chance to see them in that international setting. Because you said earlier with Canada, that's different. International setting is different pressure than playing in just for your club, right? In a State Wars event or an arch event or towards whatever it is.
Exactly. And that's what happened the first year when we did it at State Wars and we had just the three US regions, which was a nice little thing. And it was to start off. And then we added Canada last year, which was awesome for the NDP. And now I believe, and I don't want to, I think Canada may actually come with two teams for the NDP because they weren't sure about it and they seen it, they loved it. And I think they're going to come with an East Providence and a West Providence. But that's more Greg and Timmy with Laura and Charlie working on that stuff. But I think that's the way it may go. And if everything goes well and there's enough other countries that show, we may create a world team at some point to participate in these divisions. But again, that's all within what the NDP people are actually doing and creating, and they'll tell me what we have probably halfway before State Wars.
Well, it's funny. So all of your answers are kind of leading to our next topic. It's actually working out really well. So this kind of leads me to the global inline challenge, right? That happened to State Wars this year. So I mean, obviously there's a difference in age gap, or what was the major difference between what you were just speaking about with the NDP teams and what this is the global inline challenge?
Well, what the global was created, me and Timmy were talking about this for a few years. World Championships got moved to every other year. They're on an even year now. So players like this year, It's 08s and 09s would be eligible for juniors. 10s and 11s are, but most of the team will
But
be
because of the
08s.
age, yeah,
Yes. So last year, the 07s, it was their year, and they did not have a world championship to go to. So what me and Timmy's idea was with Charlie and Greg and Laura, all of us combining, was to create a global challenge at State Wars where we had the three regions from the US again. And this year we had Colombia and Canada participate in the global. And what we're expecting is to take this to the next level, with inviting more countries and making a global challenge, because State Wars, the U.S. runs the best tournaments. So
right,
the South American tournaments we go to, if we don't go, they don't happen that well.
yeah,
Uh, and we wanted something for our off-year kids to look forward to. If they make this year as an '09, they make Team USA, great. But if not, at least they know next year the
they have
'09s
something to play for.
they got something to play for. Plus, we gave the '07s last year the opportunity for playing in the global to also play in the Pan America Championships in South America. So that was the connection to give them an international play.
So let's actually jump there. I was going to kind of save that for the end, but let's jump to that because that's perfectly led into this. So, what is the Pan American game? Team USA, and I guess you would call it the NDP program, right? Not Team USA, but the NDP program sent four All American teams to the Pan American game. So, who is that really targeted to? Is that targeted to not just that off year juniors, but also like guys who maybe didn't make the team or guys who were interested in maybe making the team in the future?
Exactly. And the just the one thing is you have the Pan America Games, which is mostly all the other roller sports. Inline hockey's not in that no more. So what this is the Pan America
Okay.
Championships ran by World Skate America. So that's North America, South America, and that's part of World Skate. So they host the Pan America Championships. We did use it this year. It worked out twofold, and we did make a change to it. We were making it an NDP type thing where we were sending players down like that. But after the board considered it, they are going to be the only tournament that Team USA goes to. They're going to go to the Pan America Championships and the
Gotcha.
World Championships. And
Gotcha.
that's where Team USA will go. We will be using, again, like you said, maybe guys or gals that didn't make the team for the world championships, but we want to keep them in the loop. And we offer them to play in at least the Americas. And for the kids this year, we sent a lot of '08s and '09s down there, but they were playing against '06s and '07s.
Right. So they're playing
Both our
juniors who are
junior
kind of out of their punching weight.
Yeah, so both our junior teams won the gold medal, which for us
Yeah, it's
was
great.
a lot of kids that were considering for this or have a shot at or had their chance to go. And we did take some '07s with them that didn't get a chance to go the year before. So it really worked out well for the juniors. For the senior men and senior women, they medaled. Um, but we want to send a different type of player. We want to send, like you said, the players that are that close to the men's team or the women's team, and we want to keep them in the program. So we offer them that to go to so that they have the year to play. And then this year, like the Pan Americans are in June in Peru and the World Championships are in October. So we might use that to our advantage to send some players for some team building if people are available. So
Right.
that
And
will happen later on.
to your point there with the June date, that actually is probably easier to recruit for like those for the men, the senior divisions, right? Because the senior divisions during the hockey season is tough on both
Oh,
the women's side because there a lot of guys and girls are still playing ice hockey professionally, collegiately, whatever it may be.
exactly. And that's why June for them's a good date. The only problem we have with going international, and we kind of have also made a decision that if we don't get the information in the right amount of time, we won't attend anymore, only for the fact that it's hard for us to do it in the short amount of time that these other countries give us, due to
Right.
the fact that we have to follow guidelines from USARS and the U.S. Olympic Committee. So
Right.
we can't just pull a team out of air. We have to
Yeah.
follow policies and
And
procedures set forth by the Olympic Committee.
like you said, the US runs the best tournament And anytime you play in a tournament international, you're always kind of, even in ice hockey, right? Like you
Yep.
do the same thing. You're always kind of dealing with some wonky information or lack thereof. So I think it's important though, honestly, because a lot of people don't know about the Pan American Games until this year. I think this year was really the first year that people probably were following it, right? From stuff that we did, stuff that the social media team did with like Laura kind of following up on things with that. So I think this is the first year that people actually saw it and saw what it was like to be a part of it. And I think it will grow from there because of that, honestly, because now people are like, oh, I want to play on that team. That sounds like a great time going to Peru, wherever it is in the future. So, and we'll probably touch on that, I guess, more in the next one when we talk about 2026
We
stuff.
should have more information.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So that's kind of why we're splitting this into two parts. Um, we're gonna end. We got two more things I really want to discuss, and one of them is going to be Maiwa. Now, this is something that for like my age group, right, being in the Masters age group now at this point, I'm really interested in. So I was really interested in this topic. And then this year, correct me if I'm wrong here, was the first year that they had a Masters for the women.
Yes. Myself and Dave Marmerstein, but I'll give 90% of the credit to Dave. He's been working on like for 5 years, talking with my well about creating a women's division, and they finally did. Um, and we were able to put a team together, and actually the girls won the championship,
In
world
epic
championship
fashion.
with that. And it went fantastic. So right now it is a little strange, and I'll give you how it's broken down. Maiwa it's an international tournament, but it is not a world skate sanctioned tournament. So it's like a Norwich. It's a
Gotcha.
tournament,
Yeah.
but it is recognized for the masters, legends, and veterans.
Okay.
So the men had been doing that for like 15 years. There's been
Right.
men going there.
Right.
And these were the bridges and the parts of the pyramid I was trying to pull back together. So Team USA goes from top to bottom. And the top of it would be after the World Championships and all that would be the Masters, Legends,
Gotcha.
and Veterans. So with talking, they have a new foundation and a new committee, and we were in discussion with them, and we all want to go as Team USA. So they've decided they still do their own things on selections, but they follow the USAR's guidelines, form their teams, and include the women in that process so that when we do uniforms,
Hmm.
they can be Team USA with us under our umbrella.
Just
But
make
the
it a
women are selected different than the men right now. And that's going to be something because this is our first year merging with the foundation,
gotcha.
with Vince Freeze and those guys, which, have been great. So we're going to see how this goes. And then while we're in Germany this year, we will have some discussions on how to do this better. Um, because I kind of made a command decision and I came out of retirement and I'm going to be coaching the women's masters in
There
Germany
you go. There you go.
so that I can have
That's
these
like back in
meetings.
when's the last time you coached? 2016
2016 was
in
my
Italy,
last year with the
right?
senior
Because
women. Yes.
you did the women and you did the men because you and Jeff Prime kind of handled the
Yes.
men, right? Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
A 10 year, a
it's
10
a
year,
1 year
15-year
thing, one
reunion.
year thing.
Yeah. I mean, Germany's a great spot to go to too. I always found that MyWa picks really good locations. So
Yes,
I love the fact that they pick all these really good locations. And for people, in the older age bracket, they want a destination, not just like a tournament, right? Like,
exactly.
so I love that. And then Team USA, we kind of talked about it. Was coached by Alex Marson, correct?
Yep.
And they won. They won in the shootout, I believe. So
Yep.
and they played France, who's always had a strong program up and down, men's,
Yep.
women's, juniors, the whole thing. So it wasn't, just some kind of like, oh, they're playing all these teams and blowing them out. Like this was a tough win for the women. And I mean, I know Charlotte played, right? She was on the team. So
Yeah.
some
And
girls when I was playing in 2016 were on this team. So it's awesome to see them still, kicking. So
yep, that was too. And Alex did a great job for us. This year is a conflict because he's very involved with USA Ice Hockey. So it just made it very simple for me, who was going to be there anyway, to jump behind the bench. I had to ask permission from the girls, some
yeah,
of the girls, especially Laura, on the committee,
yeah.
and we'll
Well, You
We'll
could
know
be.
when we have the registrations are open, but when we get into that next interview, we'll talk about all the registration parts of that.
I mean, you can be tough, but you're great, great hockey mind and a great coach. I mean, I've had you as a coach. I mean, I mean, our just kind of touching on this, that men's team, and we didn't really have a lot of pieces in that puzzle. And, we competed pretty well. We wound up, I think, losing to Italy in Italy, and it was like a Saturday night game. Like, really, the odds were against us in general with kind of the roster. So you know what you're doing. So I don't think it's going to be a problem coaching at that level. And I assume that it's going to be a little more relaxed and a little more chill, not a,
Oh,
world champion.
absolutely.
So, um,
Look forward
and
to it.
so this will be kind of the last thing we talk about for the recap of 2025. And it's probably the biggest one of them all is the World Games. So the men, unfortunately, they don't have a women. Is there any talks? Do you know? Is there any talks to adding women's for this?
That's Dave. Dave is on that on already. We've had
Okay.
that discussion in Birmingham, and we me or Dave didn't go to China, but those conversations are happening to try to add a women. So what they got to do though is they may have to drop the men from the top 8 countries, and this is all projection,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
what
yeah.
they're
That
thinking is
yeah.
drop the men from 8 to 6 and make the women 4. So really they're only adding 2 teams
Two teams.
total
Gotcha.
because they do all kinds of sports in that
And,
world.
and that's going to make the men's more competitive because now you're only looking at the top 6 teams in the world. So that's going to be ultra competitive. And it already is. So, just kind of a background. The World Games I would consider is probably the biggest event that you could participate in representing Team USA, in my opinion. Essentially, it's only held every 4 years, correct? It's not a part of the Olympic Games, but it's part of the IOC and the USOPC, correct?
Correct. And what it is, it's all the sports that have world championships but are not in the Olympics. That's what the World Games are. That's why when it was in Birmingham, Alabama in 2022, and we won the gold, so we've been back to back. There's 30 other sports going on. That's why, and it's very well run, and like you
Yeah.
said, the best competition. So, with the fellas, we put the team together. Most of it was the team from the Italy World Championship team, but then there was, guys had some conflicts, and we filled in with some great other players that we have in our depths. And they went over there, and I believe in overtime, beat the Czech Republic
Yep.
and brought home a
Kevin Mooney.
back-to-back world championship. So
Well,
you're right. That in the inline hockey world is the biggest tournament in the world for inline hockey.
so I want to dial this back and kind of, like Quentin Tarantino, this almost like go back to something we talked about in the beginning. Kevin Mooney is a guy that played in the World Roller Games in Argentina with, I was on that team actually, and he is the guy that put in his time, didn't make it to the World Games that year, right? This
Yep.
is his first year at the World Games and then has a game-winning goal. So for all the people who are calling BS, right? If you are good enough and you participate in some of these Team USA events, you could have a golden goal under your belt, right? Like this kid, I mean, he played unbelievable the past 3 years since he's been playing. He's been unbelievable the past couple of years over in Spain. He's really developed his craft, but he is a guy that did it the right way. He started in Argentina, found his way to the World Games last year, and had a golden goal. So,
And you know what? And give you another example. Kevin's a great example, just as you said, how he went through his career and different years, different guys being selected. A lot of it has to do with their personal lives and the time of the event. And when it's ran in during the ice hockey season, that hurts us, Canada, the Czech, but a
right.
lot of the other countries don't really mind. But well, I'll give you another perfect example of one of our local guys, Ryan Marker.
Yeah.
It's a guy who went to the Pan American Games, won the gold 2 years ago, was the MVP. Didn't make the world games, or I mean World Skate America
Right.
Championships.
Right. Right.
And then there was someone had to bail out last minute due to an injury, I believe, and Ryan got the call and made that World
Available.
Games team,
Yeah.
and is a perfect example of being in the program, in the path, being with us, and just happened to get the call and say, "Hey, I can do it." And I mean, he was able to fill out his paperwork and do everything he did. He had 48 hours for us to fill the roster spot, and he went, and now he had a championship at the World Games also.
I'm looking at the roster right now, right? You have Nick Del Morte was in Argentina, Kevin Mooney, Argentina, Kyle Mooney, Argentina, Joey D, Max Halverson, Keith Johnson, all guys that played in that Argentina in the World Roller Games a couple
When
years
not,
ago, and
yep,
then wound up on this team. So there was a pretty big roster turnover just because of availability, right? You're not seeing Tyler Kraft, no Travis, no. You brought
exactly.
back a guy in Junior Cadiz who's always been on Team USA, but hasn't been in a few years. Now he's back in the mix. I think last time he played was in Spain, correct? So
Yes, 2019 Spain.
2019 Spain. So he found his way back in the mix. And I got to give Junior credit because I love him as a human, but the fact that if Hal State Wars ended and then he got to win gold after that, I mean, that's huge for him. Like,
Yeah, that would
so I mean,
that had to cleanse his soul because
exactly, exactly. So I had to give a shout out to Junior there, and they just had a baby, him and Elisa. So congrats to them. But yeah, I
French
mean,
fry.
yeah,
She
exactly.
played for me back in the day. I was her
Yeah.
nickname.
So because she's
Pronounced her last name
French.
wrong all the time, so I just
Yeah.
called her French fry.
Okay. That's a perfect. That's actually a hell of a nickname. So better than nicknames they used to have. So,
Yeah.
um, so this has been great. Actually, I think this is really going to help. I think the whole goal of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, was to inform people about what happened last year and then what's to come in the future. But I think overall, what we've done a good job at, not to toot our own horns, is really letting people understand that there's all different paths to Team USA, right? To go back
Exactly.
to your phrase, here's your path to Team USA. It can go this way, this way. It's not linear. Sometimes it could be all over the place, but there is a path to Team USA.
Exactly. And it starts for the kids right now. It starts with the NDP to get on the radar screen. And even for the men, it's the pro championships over the summer. With the last one being the Palmer Pro at State Wars. Because you figure this year when we're at State Wars, for all of our NDP, we're actually going to be looking at players for 2028 because the
Right,
2026 team will already be selected. So
right,
we're going to be looking at players for 2028. So it'll be a really good 14 and 16-year-old division of the
right.
NDP to
Because the
get noticed
even
because
number of years you're saying for the even number of years.
exactly. We get a couple of years to look at these
Gotcha.
players. So that's the excitement of it and the layout and having the path and basically the pyramid. And we
Yeah.
needed some structure in the sport. I still think the sport needs a little more structure, maybe a little more continuity, but there are things we're working on,
Well,
and
this
Team
should
USA is the pinnacle.
Yeah, this should help at least keep kids involved in the sport. It gives them something to look forward to. Where, before, like in ice hockey, you have your NTDP team, right? And World Juniors, this is actually kind of crazy timing in general that we had to push this off a couple of weeks just so everyone knows. And it's happening during the World Juniors, but it's actually perfect timing. But it kind of like follows the ice hockey model as close to possible as you can, because considering the fact that a lot of these kids still play ice hockey, so
Absolutely.
as good
And
as it gets.
especially the girls.
Yeah.
Especially the girls. We lose a lot of girls.
Yeah.
At certain times we can't have them due to the fact that they got regional ice hockey camps and
Right.
that's college education
And
and all
there's
that
just
stuff. So
smaller pool, and it's growing. The women's hockey is growing, but it's a smaller pool you're pulling from. Where for boys ice hockey, I mean, you have AAA teams, AA teams, club teams, house teams. Like there's so much hockey going on. So to wrap this up, is there anything? And we're going to talk about 2026, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about as far as like things to look out for early in 2026? Let's just say in the first quarter of 2026.
well, we'll in our next interview, I'll have all the dates, but yeah, all the applications will be up, all the information regarding the different international tournaments we're going to go to, where we're going to be looking, the scouts we added will be on the website. So again, you can have a write-in choice if they're not on there, not a scout as of yet, but we're looking to build that scouting system to be coast to coast and this way, any kid from any area could be looked at, get on the radar screen, and then, be at a major tournament or make the NDP and be at State Wars. And this is the beauty of the NDP and the building blocks that makes with the path to Team USA for the program. So again, my job is just coordinating and helping do a lot of the I want to say dumb stuff, but the important stuff that has to be
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
so that the hockey crew can work on getting the best players. And all that
They're the
kind of
boots.
stuff.
Yeah, they're the boots on the ground, right? You can't be
Yep.
everywhere at every time. You need a team behind you. Tim, Greg, Laura, Chal, like you need a team behind you to help, kind of feed you information and suggestions and changes. And it's not always, sunshines and rainbows, right? You probably go through a lot of BS too with
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of stuff. So you are digging through the mud a little bit with a lot of this. So someone needs to kind of lead that, and then you do have your help there. So I mean, again, so you can reach out on the Instagram. It's under now that it's actually kind of changed the Instagram name. I just pulled it up. But it's under USAR's Inline Hockey, but you'll see the subtext is Team USA Inline Hockey. So that's a good place to go if you just have any general questions. Laura kind of manages that, or just go
Yep.
to the website, USAR's
The
Inline Hockey.
website has the stories and applications and all the information. And they're going to be doing a major upgrade with that in the beginning of January, so that everywhere we're going to be, the players, the parents will know, so that they could pick what's best for them. That's what we want to try to make it easy to be part of the program. So we want to try to be as many places as we can.
And that's usarsInlineHockey.org. But this is a good place. This is kind of more like the I would say the more formal side of things, right? Like where you
Yes.
register. There's a formal question drop box in there. It has a calendar of events, sponsors, all that on there. So this is where you want to go for all the kind of official information. But if you have just a general question or anything like that, you can use the
Yep.
Instagram as well, because I know a lot of kids like using social media. So it's very tough for
That's
them to
why
go
that's
to the
why I
website.
got Laura, Greg, and
Yeah,
Charlie.
exactly. Like it's very tough for a kid to go to a website anymore, which is crazy to me, considering the fact that, you have a son who's very high in technology, right? And it's probably like waiting on that inbox. But this has been great. So that's it for this edition. We're gonna do with part two. It's gonna be early in January, where we may even bring in a couple people to kind of talk about some of the things for the future as well. And then, other than that, we'll be back for part two.
All right, Ant, thank you very
Yep.
much.
That was
Have a
great.
good one.
Thanks.
All righty.